Next on the news.
Bendición estos ramos.
Holy Week is now underway as Bishop Robert Brennan of the Diocese of Brooklyn leads a procession for Palm Sunday.
In a procession, what we do is a visible sign of something we should be doing every day. We're taking our faith to the streets.
We take a look at the rest of the week and what's coming up for Catholics during the holiest time of the year. Plus,
si ripongano le armi, si inizi una tregua pasquale, ma non per ricaricare le armi e riprendere a combattere.
Pope Francis calling for an Easter truce between Russia and Ukraine to end the bloodshed. And proof that you're never too old to graduate college. A 92-year-old student gets his diploma. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. Hundreds of Catholics bringing their prayers to the streets of Brooklyn on Palm Sunday. It was Bishop Robert Brennan's first Palm Sunday as the shepherd of Brooklyn, and he says he was thrilled to enter into Holy Week in such a dramatic way.
Dios Todopoderoso y Eterno, santifique con.
Diocese of Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan beginning Holy Week in a special way, leading a procession of Hispanic Catholics on Palm Sunday from Grand Army Plaza to the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph.
A procession is an expression of our prayer, our giving praise and worship to God.
Walking the streets of Brooklyn with palms in their hands, commemorating Jesus' solemn entry into Jerusalem, where those who greeted him waved palms and set them on the ground along his path. Bishop Brennan says it's important to live our faith publicly.
In a procession, what we do is a visible sign of something we should be doing every day. We're taking our faith to the streets, taking our faith into the community.
Palm Sunday begins the holiest week for Catholics. Bishop Brennan calls it a powerful week, one which we shouldn't treat like any other. So he's encouraging Catholics to take part in the liturgies of the week, reflect, and even pick up the good book and give it a read.
And let Jesus speak to you as he's speaking to his disciples.
In particular, Bishop Brennan suggested reading John's Gospel, chapters 13 through 17. He said it's all about friendship. And be sure to tune into Net TV to watch all the Holy Week services live. Here's the rundown. We'll have live coverage of the Chrism Mass on Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 p.m. with Bishop Brennan. Then on Holy Thursday, Bishop Brennan will celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper at 7 p.m. On Good Friday, he'll celebrate two services live on Net, the Way of the Cross at 10 a.m. and the Liturgy of the Lord's Passion at 3 p.m. The Easter Vigil with Bishop Brennan will be broadcast that Saturday at 8 p.m. And on Easter Sunday, 3 bishops will celebrate masses in different languages. Bishop Witold Morzewski will celebrate the 7 a.m. Polish Mass. Bishop Emeritus Nicholas DiMarzio will celebrate the 8 a.m. Italian, and Bishop Brennan will celebrate the 11 a.m. English Mass. There will also be a 9 a.m. Creole Mass and a 1:30 p.m. Spanish Mass on Easter Sunday for those who wish to celebrate in those languages. As I mentioned before, the Chrism Mass kicks off on Tuesday. We'll have live coverage starting at 7 p.m. Bishop Robert Brennan will be here, and he'll explain to us the significance of the service.
The Chrism Mass really is a celebration of our sacramental life in the church. We bless the oils that will be used in all of the parishes, so it's a sign of our communion. All the parishes in Queens and in Brooklyn forming one church here for the Diocese of Brooklyn. This is a moment for all of us. And so we want to be spiritually united. And gee, I wish we could fit everybody into St. Joseph's Co-Cathedral. We'll have a lot of people there, not only the priests and deacons, but we'll have a lot of people there. But I'm so glad that we have Net TV so that people can participate even from their homes.
And from the Diocese of Brooklyn, joining me on the desk to give a priest perspective of the Mass will be Father Frank Tamino of St. Francis Xavier Parish. We'll also provide live commentary throughout the service. Again, that starts at 7 p.m. right here on Net TV. If you're looking for other ways to reflect on the death and resurrection of Christ, St. Pancras Church in Glendale has an interesting exhibit for you. This is an interactive tomb made by the parish's Director of Religious Education to simulate the resting place of Christ after he sacrificed himself on the cross. You can even see Christ's body laying in mourning right there. On Friday at midnight, when we remember the death of Jesus, the body will be taken away and it will be replaced with a white cloth on Sunday for his resurrection. Again, that exhibit is at St. Pancras Church in Glendale, Queens. The address there is 72-22 68th Street, again in Glendale, Queens. The traditional Palm Sunday celebrations returned to St. Peter's Square for the first time since the pandemic. Despite the joyous occasion, the Holy Father spent his Palm Sunday focused on the people suffering from the war in Ukraine. He called for an Easter truce between the two nations during his homily. Kelsey Gussie reports on the Pope's latest plea for peace.
Since 2019, St. Peter's Square has not been as full as on Palm Sunday this year. Thousands of pilgrims filled St. Peter's Square for the Palm Sunday ceremony after the pandemic restrictions were lifted. Throughout his homily, Pope Francis alluded to the ugly nature of war. He said that in war, Jesus is once again nailed to the cross.
Sì, Cristo è ancora una volta inchiodato alla croce delle madri che piangono la morte ingiusta dei mariti e dei figli. È crocifisso nei profughi che fuggono dalle bombe con i bambini in braccio. È crocifisso negli anziani lasciati soli a morire, nei giovani privati di futuro, nei soldati mandati a uccidere i loro fratelli. Cristo è crocifisso lì oggi.
During the Angelus, Pope Francis touched on the theme of war, calling for a truce in Ukraine and for both sides to negotiate peace.
Si ripongano le armi, si inizi una tregua pasquale, ma non per ricaricare le armi e riprendere a combattere. No, una tregua per arrivare alla pace, attraverso un vero negoziato, disposti anche a qualche sacrificio per il bene della gente.
From the start of the ceremony, the Pope's knee problems would limit his involvement. But at the end of the Mass, the Pope got into the Popemobile and was able to greet people from there. He was in the car for more than 15 minutes and went as far as Via della Conciliazione. This is one of the symbolic images of the ceremony, as it was the first time Pope Francis was able to do this since 2019.
That was Kelsey Gussie reporting. Typically, the Pope leads the Palm Sunday procession through St. Peter's Square before Mass, but since he's been suffering from the strained ligament in his right knee, that's caused a limp, so he was driven to the altar instead. One of the Pope's top cardinals hit the road on Palm Sunday to deliver a second ambulance to the people of Ukraine. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski is expected to hand over the Vatican donation to a hospital in Kyiv on Holy Thursday. Cardinal Krajewski will spend Holy Week and Easter in Ukraine, celebrating in Kyiv churches and visiting places of humanitarian catastrophe. The ambulance won't be the only nod during Holy Week to the war in Ukraine. During the Way of the Cross service, 2 nurses from Ukraine and Russia will be among those carrying the cross. The 2 work at the Biomedico campus hospital in Rome and put together a video after the invasion to show their solidarity. They say the war has brought them closer together than ever before. The new U.S. ambassador to the Holy See officially began his term on Monday. Ambassador Joe Donnelly presented his credentials to Pope Francis at the Vatican's Apostolic Palace. Donnelly, a former senator from Indiana, was nominated for the post by President Biden last fall. He was confirmed by the Senate in January. President Biden nominating attorney Steve Dettelbach to head up the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. This as he also unveils a new rule to rein in so-called ghost guns. They are privately made firearms without serial numbers that are increasingly being used in violent crimes nationwide. The tighter regulations would require buyers of ghost guns to undergo background checks. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is concerned about an uptick in crime this summer, so he's vowing to add more anti-gun units to the streets. New data from last week shows there was a 16.2% increase in major crimes across the 5 boroughs in March. This despite the rollout of anti-gun teams meant to get weapons off the streets. It was a deadly weekend across the U.S. with fatal shootings across several states. Cole Higgins has the latest on the investigations that stretched from New York to the South to the Midwest.
2 days after a 16-year-old girl was shot and killed while walking home from school in the Bronx, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York is calling on the federal government to deal with what he calls an explosion in unregulated weapons. Police say the 17-year-old who was arrested Saturday for the shooting may have been using a ghost gun.
A child that has zero police contact at all, and he goes from smoking marijuana to killing somebody.
In Grantville, Georgia, the State Bureau of Investigation still working to find out who brutally murdered the owner of a gun range, his wife, and their teenage grandson this weekend.
The store's been here for a long time. The range has been here for a long time. And there's people from all around come to shoot here. I mean, it's just not people from Grantville.
Investigators say as many as 40 guns and the range's surveillance camera and recorder were taken from the scene. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 2 people are dead and at least 10 others injured after an early Sunday morning shooting at a nightclub. And in Indianapolis, police say a fight at a birthday party led to another deadly shooting. 1 person is dead and 5 others wounded. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
Police in California are searching for the thieves who stole $150,000 in equipment from a church in Santa Monica. Detectives say 3 people got into St. Monica Church on March 24th and tried to desecrate the tabernacle, and they stole from donation boxes. Expensive devices used to live stream audio and video from the services at the church were also stolen. Parish officials believe the suspects may have snuck in as the church was being closed up for the night. There's a lot more news headed your way. A new round of attacks are looming. The Ukrainian president warning about new military action by Russian military forces. Plus, how supply chain problems are impacting a Lenten tradition across the U.S. That's coming up.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Russia's focus in Ukraine has now turned to the eastern part of the devastated country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is putting up a defiant front. He says his troops can fight back, but insists they need help from the U.S. Isabel Rosales has the latest from Washington.
Ukraine bracing for a major Russian assault in the east.
Russia is preparing another offensive.
In Mariupol, relentless shelling.
You understand that somebody is dying at that moment, but you're actually happy that it's not you.
Ukraine's president says tens of thousands of people have died in the city. The latest battle for the Donbas region is underway. Some Ukrainians evacuating west. There is a lot of bombing here, says Oksana. I'm afraid for the children. Russian troops withdrawing from the north, but building up in the east. The fighting there expected to be pivotal in this war.
Frankly speaking, I don't think we can differentiate between, stages of hell that Ukraine is now going through.
President Volodymyr Zelensky insists his people are ready for this new wave of Russian attacks, but says they can't do it alone.
All depends on how fast we will be helped by the United States. To be honest, whether we will be able to survive depends on this.
And for that chance of survival, the Ukrainians are pleading for weapons, planes, tanks, and defense systems. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin appointing a general nicknamed the Butcher of Syria to lead troops, according to one U.S. and one European official. Alexander Dvornikov is the mastermind behind brutal tactics in past conflicts, leading to major civilian deaths. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, Currents News.
On top of a growing Russian offensive, Ukraine is also dealing with a major refugee crisis as the number of people fleeing the country continues to climb. According to the UN, more than 4.5 million people have left Ukraine, and more than half of them, 2.6 million, escaped to Poland. Under that is Romania with almost 700,000, and countries such as Hungary and Moldova seeing more than 400,000 refugees. Ukrainians trying to leave the country are looking for another way out after a devastating Russian attack on a train station in the eastern city of Kramatorsk. As Ben Wiedemann reports, cleanup efforts at the site are now underway.
The air raid siren rings out over a scene of carnage past. In Kramatorsk's railway station, a ripped shoe, a discarded hat, a cane left behind. They came to the station with only what they could carry, hoping to reach safer ground, but nearly 60 never left. Lives cut short by a missile. On it, someone scrawled in Russian, "For the children." 4,000 people were here, waiting for a train west when the strike happened. The massacre accelerating the exodus. Most of the residents of Kramatorsk have left the city, having been urged to do so by local authorities, as this part of the country, the entirety of eastern Ukraine, braces for what could be a massive Russian offensive. At the city's bus station, Nikolai, a volunteer, has been helping with the evacuation. For him, news of the pullback of Russian forces around the capital, Kyiv, was bittersweet.
When I heard about Kyiv, that they leave Kyiv, I was happy, but then I realized a couple seconds later that they move to Donbass, or their forces. I can't say that I'm scary, but I'm worried about my people, about mothers, about grandparents.
Some are heading west, others north to the town of Slovyansk, where trains still run. Oksana and a friend and their children are bound for Lviv in the far west. There's a lot of bombing here, says Oksana. I'm afraid for the children. The children, thankfully, still children. A handful of adult relatives stay behind, far more aware of the danger ahead.
That was Ben Wiedemann reporting. The attack against the train station was denounced by some as yet another war crime by the Russian military. While many are trying to escape from Ukraine, a handful have been able to find a safe haven in the country's Carpathian Mountains. There, nuns at the Greek Catholic Congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Family have granted refuge to roughly 40 people fleeing from Russian forces. Built after Ukraine's independence in the early 90s, the monastery has become a symbol of resilience. The village's previous monastery was closed down by communist authorities while the area was part of the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine continues to pose hurdles for businesses in the U.S., and it's even impacting the ever-popular Lenten fish fries. Normally, during the Lenten season, the Knights of Columbus and the Diocese of Nashville would sponsor 2 fish fry dinners, serving between 800 and 900 people each. However, they had to make the tough decision to cancel the dinners this year, saying they couldn't find a supplier that would guarantee the fish. It's official. The State Department has added a new gender option to U.S. passports. Citizens applying for a passport can now select the gender X on their applications in addition to the female and male options. The designation is defined as an unspecified or another gender identity. The State Department announced the decision last year following a lawsuit filed by a non-binary Colorado resident. That resident argued that it was impossible to get a passport that accurately reflected their identity. But according to the Catholic Church, God created us as male and female. Back in August of 2019, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops posted a teaching document which states, by creating the human being, man and woman, God gives personal dignity equally to the one and the other. Each of them, man and woman, should acknowledge and accept his sexual identity. Frightening moments in the Big Apple Sunday night. A manhole blast sent panicked crowds in Times Square sprinting for safety. Thankfully, there were no reports of injuries, but the video shows hundreds of confused tourists and locals fleeing as they try to figure out what was going on. According to the FDNY, firefighters found 3 manholes on fire near Times Square's Hard Rock Cafe. Utility officials confirmed the flames were caused by faulty cables. Still to come on Currents News, we're talking colleges when we come back. First, meet the high school senior who got into all 27 of his college choices. And yes, those include some Ivy Leagues. Plus, for those of you who always wanted to go to college but never got the chance, an inspiring story of a man who decided to finally get his degree at 92. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Getting into college was no sweat for one high school superstar. Jonathan Walker of Panama City, Florida, has been accepted to every single college he applied to, 27 in all, and they include several Ivy League schools. The high school senior tells us how he accomplished this amazing feat.
It was really just like writing like a set of essays for one college, and then from there like tweaking them specifically for the colleges.
He makes it sound so easy. Oh, and Jonathan also received scholarship offers totaling over $4 million combined. He's still deciding which school he'll attend. A Massachusetts man proving it's never too late to fulfill your dreams. Carlos Resende is 92 years old, and last Friday he finally got something he's always wanted: a college degree. Rachel Holt was at Resende's commencement ceremony and shares his reason for going back to the classroom.
A lifelong goal fulfilled as 92-year-old Carlos Resende, wearing his cap and gown, received his diploma surrounded by faculty, family, and friends. The Dorchester man becoming the oldest graduate in Cambridge College history.
Carlos, I don't know if you ever knew how intimidating it was for me to teach you.
After retiring from his job as a paraprofessional in Boston Public Schools, Carlos went back to school, this time on the opposite side of the classroom.
By the age of 80, he was enrolled here at Cambridge College, seeking a bachelor's degree in multidisciplinary studies, and he's gradually gone through all of the various requirements through the years, and he's finally arrived at the finish line.
His motivation to get to that finish line, besides a passion for learning, was a desire to make his mother proud.
Mr. Resende, we know today your mother is looking down on you with such pride. We are honored that we can stand in some way in her stead in this physical presence with you and share her pride.
But words can't really explain how we feel. It's truly an amazing accomplishment for a man to be at his age, to be so dedicated to learning at this age is inspiring to all of us.
During the special commencement ceremony, the college announced a scholarship in his name to be awarded annually to an undergraduate student of any age.
Anyone who ever thinks it's too late, I have to give up on my dreams, I want to say to them, you need to get to know Mr. Resende, because he actually says to all of us, it's never too late.
I love it. At 92, he still wants to make mom proud. That was Rachel Holt reporting. Resende says he worked hard to show his much younger professors and classmates that he can contribute just as much as they can in class. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.